Uh-oh, here we go again.
So Carnival Cruise says no more boots on the ground and no more fan clapping on our ships. And now black people are all pissed off about it.
It took a 24-person brawl for Carnival to finally be done. Let's give it up for Carnival for hanging in there that long.
Do you know how much of a miscreant you have to be? How problematic you have to be? How poorly behaved you have to act? For an entire cruise line to have to change its rules just for you? Because of you? As many of you already know, because you've been watching YouTube and you've seen it all over social media and the news, Carnival Cruise Lines was forced to put in some stricter rules because of some poorly behaving passengers on board.
24 people are now banned from sailing with Carnival Cruise Line after getting into a fight. The video from Saturday appears to show a group of people, you see them here, shoving each other while disembarking a ship inside of a terminal in Galveston.
And of course, some of those folks never taking the time to look in the mirror, never taking the time to be self-reflective, questioning what they did wrong, just immediately defaulted to "That's crazy!" So we're going to talk about that today because it's coming from one particular group.
Love me or hate me, God knows you made it. Winning ladies' eyes on me.
Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rogan and this is Bahamian Gyal. On my platform I do social commentary and reaction videos. I encourage my audience to have private conversations in public. So let's just jump right into the rules really quickly, okay? The new rules that Carnival set out, these changes, and these, when I read them to you, they really don't even sound that bad. Like, it's like common sense changes. So here are the rules. There's a curfew for minors. Guests 17 and under must be off public decks by 1 a.m. unless with a parent or guardian 21 years or older or participating in a supervised youth program. 17 and under. What's wrong with that? Even if you weren't on a cruise, why would my child who's 17 or under be out at 1 a.m.? No problem with that. Zero tolerance marijuana policy. It's sad that they even have to implement this in a rule. So Carnival maintains a strict ban on marijuana, including for medical purposes, as it is illegal under federal maritime law. You can't do what you're doing in your city, in your state, where it might be legal and think it's going to be okay, especially if you're cruising to different countries. You're under maritime law, federal. And so why would you even think to bring weed on board? Restricted items, Bluetooth speakers, handheld fans, where them fans at? And consuming drinks on dance floors are no longer permitted in public areas. As regards to the Bluetooth speakers, you're not the only one on this cruise. If you want the luxury of blasting your music for everybody to hear, you need to rent your own boat or go on your own yacht or something like that, where your music can be played loudly as you want, and you don't have to bother anybody else. But you're sharing the space with other people. And it's sad that someone has to tell you that these Bluetooth speakers and handheld fans should be banned or not allowed. Smoking policy. There's a $500 fine in place for violating the cruise line's smoking rules. I think they allow you to smoke on the boat. It's just that you have to smoke in certain areas. Like, can you imagine someone lighting up in their room and it catches fire? And you're on a boat in the middle of the ocean? The next thing is items overboard. This one irritated the crap out of me. It says discharging or releasing unauthorized items overboard can result in a $500 charge and potential removal from the ship. I've been on boats before where I've seen people drinking and just throw it out into the ocean, and it bothers me as somebody who is very, very, first of all, I'm from an island nation. And I hate to see people just trashing the ocean, just trashing the water. But to see that is just so infuriating. Sometimes I just want to drop kick somebody overboard. And I think that fine is too low. $500 charge and potential removal. I feel like these cruise ships need to get more serious and be like, if we catch you doing that, you're off this boat and we drop you off wherever. There was a lot of ruckus about this hip hop ban that they said Carnival had implemented, and Carnival refuted that, saying they had no such thing.
So Carnival Cruise says no more boots on the ground and no more fan clapping on our ships. And now black people are all pissed off about it. Not all black people. The ones who are calling Carnival Cruise racist and making videos saying that Carnival Cruise doesn't want black people on their ships and they're not going to give their money to Carnival Cruises anymore. That was the intention. They don't want your money. I've been on a cruise. I've never been on a Carnival cruise, but I've been on a very expensive cruise. And I don't want to hear boots on the ground. I don't want to hear your fans clapping. And I don't want to hear hip hop music in the club all night long. News alert, you're not the only people on that ship. There are other people on that ship who paid the same amount of money you did or more. So what gives you the right to think that you can take over an entire ship? You guys have seen the videos. They take over the whole pool area and they're just clapping their fans and stomping around. And other guests who don't want to do that have to endure that. 9 times out of 10, they go to another part of the ship where there isn't a pool, or they just go to their rooms, because vacation is for relaxation. Sure, have fun. But Black people getting on TikTok and saying that Carnival Cruise is being racist against Black people is not the truth. And the fact that these Black people who don't know how to act in public are now saying that they're victims of racism is complete bullshit. And I have a solution. The Black people who think that Carnival Cruise is targeting them and doesn't want their dollars, and you guys are not going to spend your dollars on their ship anymore, cool. That was the intention. Good job, Carnival Cruise. You Black people who are offended, go start your own cruise line and stomp around and clap your fans and listen to hip hop music all night long for as many days as you want to.
You know, a lot of critics came out and blasted Carnival Cruise Lines, saying that they were targeting Black people. And the funny part to me is the rules apply to everyone. And if you're a Black person who thinks that it only applies to you, then you're telling on yourself. Because these are the same folks who will quickly say, oh, we're not a monolith and everybody is not smoking weed and drinking and dancing to rap music and this, that, and the next thing. But the minute these rules come out, you feel like personally attacked. Then you're telling on yourself, you're saying that you are all of those things. Because if a white person or an Asian person is caught smoking marijuana, these rules apply to them as well. Again, we see so many people going on these cruise ships and just acting like a complete donkey. Again, I will say donkey. Someone said to me in the comment section, don't compare them to donkeys because donkeys are basically calm animals. I said, okay, what's another word for donkey? That's what they're acting like. You know, I've been on a cruise one time in my life, and it was a Carnival cruise. And that was many years ago, and I was so happy to know that everybody was so well behaved. I feel like I was with a different caliber of cruisers, people who were just happy to be in a different space and being able to go to different ports of call. Cruise ships are so beneficial to family members and friends who don't want to spend a lot of money flying to a destination. So it's easy for them to go on and have their fill with food and drink and be able to enjoy themselves on vacation at a low cost. And I think Carnival has made it even more accessible for people who don't have money to come on their cruise ships by offering financing for their cruises and making the prices pretty low. You choose your port of call and the price can be really low. And I've heard people say, listen, if they want to keep the miscreants, the delinquents, the ratchets away, then they should raise the price really higher and just kind of like that'll shut them out completely because they can't afford it. And, you know, that was my first thought as well. But then I think about the family members who aren't that, who don't act like that. And they would be shut out as well because they can't afford to go and pay to go to a destination, to fly to a destination. So I feel really sorry about that. I think it really needs to just come down to enforcement and doing thorough checks. You'll see people coming online and bragging about how they were able to sneak alcohol on the cruise, which you're not supposed to, and just giving it all away. I feel like they really need to just kind of clamp down on those people and not necessarily raise the price, because again, you'll be shutting out people who just maybe like a family wants to take their children on a cruise and that's what they can afford. And they don't have all the money, so they want to finance it. So I don't want them to do that. I don't want to be there relaxing on my trip or with my family and hearing you blasting your music. Your music might be inappropriate. At least if it's coming through the cruise ship's speakers or something like that, it's not going to have profanity or anything that's insulting. But when you're playing it from your Bluetooth speaker, you know what you're listening to can be really offensive to somebody else. And I hope that people will fall in line. And I hope the Carnival Cruise Lines get serious about Like maybe have like a no sale list if they don't have that already. Like how you have no fly lists. Because what you don't want to be is the Spirit Airlines of the sea. I want to run a few videos of people who were reacting to Carnival's decision to adjust its rules, to strengthen their rules. And I was so proud to see so many Black people who jumped up and were like, nope, we're not going to call Carnival Cruises racist. Nope. Y'all acting a fool. Y'all should be called out. And kudos to all the Black people who do that. Let's go.
I went on the Carnival Cruise back in 2016, and it wasn't like what I'm seeing now. I feel like the caliber of people are going down because it's monkey see, monkey do. First of all, with this social media shit, the more you act stupid and the dumber you are and you being exploited, the more attention you get. They feel like you can just go anywhere and just act this way and behave this way, and it's funny. It's a ha-ha, hee-hee moment. This whole being turned and lit culture and just being ignorant is at an all-time high. That's just the truth. And Carnival Cruise need to ban all of them. Ban all of them. If you don't know how to act like you got no sense, you can't get on here no more. It's just that simple. Motherfuckers are too old to be behaving like that. And if you feel like it's directed towards you or you gonna boycott Carnival Cruise, then so be it.
And so, unfortunately, a segment of Black culture, the most negative part of it, has infiltrated into the cruising industry. And that's why you're seeing this type of behavior. And those who are looking to defend it are the ones who want to continue to perpetuate that behavior because this was best for them. And it's because for them, it's easier to play victim in this situation rather than actually take accountability for their behavior and actions.
It took a 24-person brawl for Carnival to finally be done. Let's give it up for Carnival for hanging in there that long.
Start fighting the officers and then start fighting each other again.
Boy, the problem for me is we cause these stereotypes on ourselves. We bring these stereotypes on ourselves. I've had people come into my comment section and say, oh, hey, yeah, you can call out these behaviors, but be careful about talking about these sorts of things in the front of white people. I want those people who are saying that to me to go and criticize the individuals who are acting stupidly, rather than criticizing me and other Black content creators for saying we don't agree with this. The problem is we don't speak out enough about it. And I'm happy more people, more content creators are saying, I'm not going to affiliate myself with you. I'm not going to associate with this foolishness. I'm not going to make people think that what all this is me and I'm a part of that. No. I'm happy that content creators are speaking out. And I'm not one of those people who's like, oh, don't say this in the front of white people. When I speak, I'm not speaking to hide anything from white people. I'm not speaking to hurt Black people. I'm speaking because there's a problem and I'm going to address it. And if that offends you, then don't watch, because I'm not going to stop talking about these issues. And I heard the rules. I said, good. Whoever falls in that category is affected. And you ain't got to just be Black. And I hope Carnival does not back down. As a matter of fact, they need to step it up, because you know what? You have hardworking folks who are coming on these cruise ships, spending their last or having to finance because they can't afford it. I heard another content creators like laughing at people saying, well, if you can't afford a cruise ship at $300, like what are you doing with your life? And my thing is, you have a lot of people who are poor, but just because you're poor doesn't mean that you don't want to at least be able to go on a vacation or take your kids on vacation. It's summer. So I don't have an issue with them having their prices the way they are or having their rules in place. Just get rid of the miscreants, all the ratchets who think it's appropriate to bring the hood on the high seas. You know, a year ago, I did an interview with a gentleman by the name of Laron. He runs the Broken Traditions podcast. He has the Wins and Lessons podcast as well, but the Broken Traditions here on YouTube. And he had reached out to me, and it took a long time for us to get together, but he had reached out to me because he and his family had gone to the Bahamas on vacation. And they did not have a great time, and we were having that conversation. And I remember part of the conversation, he asked why certain Caribbean people, you know, viewed African Americans in a certain light.
The global, I guess, reputation that we have, right? So we, like I said, we go back to the social media on entertainment, music, all the stuff we talked about. Then now we got people who actually in the country acting an ass and disrespectful to people. And I'm not gonna lie, if I'm being disrespected by a group of people, pretty soon I'm assuming that's how all those people are.
And when you go into Caribbean countries or you go anywhere, I think you have to be very careful about, you have to be respectful of people's culture, and you have to know how to read the room. And you certainly don't go there to make a spectacle of yourself. And I'm not saying this was your case or, a lot of people's case, but some people do this. They go into a country and it's like, it's just like they're on their worst behavior. The same things that you would roll your eyes at in Atlanta if you were in a restaurant, the same things that irritate you, the same people who do these things, they travel, they go on cruise ships, they go on flights, and they go to the countries and they take those same attitudes with them. And so can you legitimately blame someone if they feel a certain way? I wouldn't. And no, it's not fair to label everybody. But when you see a pattern of behavior, people are going to do it. It's inevitable. You can't say to someone, don't feel that way, don't think that way, when they've seen a pattern of behavior. And I don't know why. I saw in one of the clips, I looked right at them and I said, they're like Bahamian police officers. Come to find out that was the Bahamas.
Yeah, this upset cruiser here does not have a wristband for whatever reason. We'll talk about it. She's on the boat. She's waiting to go on the excursion, and she has delayed everyone from going on their excursion by almost an hour and a half. They're sitting in the sun and ass off for an hour and a half because this woman doesn't have a wristband. Let's play the video. We'll talk about it after. Let's get the reaction here of this woman and everyone on board. I'm playing this video straight as it is. I have not cut out anything at all. And I want to mention up front as well that Hey, It's Crystal 2 is the one that captured this video. She was on the excursion. People are saying she's got to go. Security's telling her she has to go. She repeats over and over, I'm not going. I'm not going anywhere. She checked in. She wants a reimbursement. Security says, you don't have a wristband. Everyone else has a wristband. Here's some water. Now look. The woman refuses to get off the boat and sat there as dead weight. And as they literally carry her, drag her off the ship, passengers cheer because their day, their excursion can continue.
You see them police officers there guarding my house? You see them, that police officer there and that police officer over there? That's the Bahamian police. And are y'all taking a chance? Boy, let me tell you something. The Bahamas is not America. Let me start with that. Y'all want to go to jail in the Bahamas? Bahamians don't even want to go to jail in the Bahamas. The lady who was bearing down as the police officers were trying to lift her up off of the cruise ship. Take a look. Y'all bold as hell. Y'all are bold as hell. Let me give y'all some advice if y'all ever in trouble in the Bahamas. Do not piss Bahamian police off. Be as nice as possible and cooperate as much as possible. Don't piss them and don't make them work hard. A word to the wise is sufficient. I leave that there. And then also too, let me say this last thing before I go. Carnival is going to have a problem recruiting staff to work these cruise ships if they don't really get this under control. People who used to work the cruise ships used to be so happy to be able to go and say they live on the sea and their accommodations were taken care of or whatever, or I don't know if it's fully taken care of or deeply discounted or whatever. But used to have people who wanted to work on the cruise ships. They're not going to want to work on Carnival or any place where they feel like their safety could be in jeopardy or they have to deal with people acting a fool. Don't become the Greyhound bus of the sea. Strengthen those rules. Not necessarily have to increase the price because, like I said, a lot of people would love to go on vacation and they can't afford it. But strengthen those rules and have some serious security and do some thorough checks. And if you bring in marijuana on board or whatever, I'd be like, okay, you stay right here. Have people come and get their bags and stuff. And you say, we're going to let you off right here on this port of call. If you're that desperate to smoke weed. Anyway, before we move on, you know what time it is. It's time for Hot Takes and Head Shakes, the part of the show where I feature your feedback, best takes, wildest reactions, and maybe a few clapbacks from you all in the comments section. All right, so let's see what made it to the feed this week. Let's start off with Michael Fetter's show. Thanks for making this video. I aspire to be as good as you in the social commentary space. Thank you so much, Michael. I really appreciate that. And I responded to you in the comment section, so be sure to look out for that. Keep at it, like I said, and watch people who you wouldn't ordinarily watch in this space, and just try to hone in on your own style, but I think you'll do really well. The next one comes from Tommy Browning, 2462, says, the words you say are true. The silent, moderate folks of America of all races need to have a louder voice. Most of us are working our asses off and just out here trying to live and let live. So thank you so much, Tommy Browning. I 100% agree. This next comment comes from a video that I did a year ago called This is Exactly What's Wrong with Black Culture. And if you haven't watched that, please go and watch it after this video. And this one comes from Jane Black 3187, who says, I have a question. If someone says I am unapologetically pro-black, does that mean that person is anti everything else? I had a boss say that once and it turned out to be true. At first, I thought it was like a pecking order, blacks first, Hispanics next, and so on, but it was full on anti, not black. I have friends who say that they are unapologetically pro-black, and for the friends that I have, they just mean that they're really pro-black. Like, and when they say unapologetically, they mean, let's just say in regards to like your hair, I'm not going to make any excuses for why my hair is kinky, curly, coily. I'm not going to try and straighten it for anybody else to appease them, that sort of way. And other ways too why they say they're unapologetically pro-black. But there are blacks who say that they are unapologetically pro-black, and they do mean that they're anti everything else. So you have to sort of discern which is which, and I think you already experienced that with your boss. So let's go to the next one. And you guys too who are watching who say you're unapologetically pro-black, you can explain down below in the comment section what that means for you. All right, so let's go to this next comment. It comes from Elizabeth Sargent 2759, who says, you need to start doing true crime too. You have the persona to keep people watching. And you know what's so funny is I had considered doing that, like starting another channel where I talk about true crime, because I really love, like I used to watch like your Snapped back in the day. I love watching Law and Order SVU. Y'all who've been watching me, you know I love my Law and Order SVU. But I love true crime stories. Like, there's so many stories that I've heard over the years that have just blown my mind that I'm like, I really should probably start a second channel and just do true crime. So that is definitely in consideration. So thank you so much, Elizabeth. This next one comes from Kathy Post 2080, says, I have white Karen fatigue. I'm tired of them making us look like disrespectful asses. I try to approach and say hello to a black American only to get a look that's hurtful. I love everyone. We are all one race. Much love. Bronson for life, I think that's what he's supposed to say, in regards to my Let's Go Back to Segregation video, said split, because I asked my audience whether they wanted to stay together to say stay, and if they wanted to split the races to say split, and he answered split. So thank you so much for your feedback. Lil Hella Smoke says, why are y'all constantly trying to speak on black Americans? Speak on the place you and your family fled from. I'm from the Bahamas. Where did I flee from? Is my country war-torn? Did we have some disaster that caused me to flee? I booked a flight and I relocated with my documents to the United States. Let's not confuse fleeing with relocation, okay? And I hate when people just think that because there are foreigners in the States, like we fled from somewhere. A lot of people just migrated, moved here for work or family. And I wish you would flee from my channel with this dumb statement. Next comment comes from Raven Fodder 1754, says, nothing makes me hate some black people more than the claims that whites stole everything, that blacks were the original everything, how the Moors conquered all of Europe, blacks were the real Jews, the real Native Americans, the real samurai, the original Chinese, and they invented everything first. However, anyone with a brain knows the truth, and we are tired of being gaslit into believing absolute nonsense, and it's insulting. Well, I'm agreeing with you on this one. First of all, the white people who are here today, a lot of them are descendants of poor whites who didn't have anything, who didn't steal anything. So I totally understand that. That's annoying as hell. The second thing is I also give an eye roll when someone says, oh, black people invented this, they invented that, yes, black people invented some stuff, Chinese people invented some stuff, white people invented some stuff. Like, nobody just invented everything, unless your name is God. This final comment comes from Richard Mickle N6I, says, BBLs are weird and disgusting. You're not flexing, you're insulting yourself and embarrassing yourself friends and family. That's from one of my BBL videos. I don't remember which one because I failed to screenshot that part. But definitely check out my BBL videos too. Those are always fun to watch, especially if you're having a horrible day. Put on one of my BBL videos. It'll really brighten your day. I promise you. It'll have you laughing. Well, that's going to do it for today, guys. I really want to thank you all for your support. Garnett Brown especially, I want to send a special shout out to you. Michael Wynn, so many of you who have been so supportive. For those of you who'd like to continue to follow me on my journey, please go to my blog, thisbahamiangal.com. Sign up for my newsletter. I'll put the QR code on the screen. Follow me on Instagram at thisbahamiangal and on TikTok at thisbahamiangaltbg. And of course, listen to the podcast on Apple and Spotify and iHeartRadio and everywhere else that you get your podcasts. Also, if you want to support this channel financially, you can find the various ways of doing so in the description box. And I'll also put a QR code on the screen so you can buy me a coffee if you'd like to do that, or you can shop my merch store. I have some new merch for Ratchosity, which is most appropriate considering what's going on in the world today. I think you guys will love it. Thank you so much again for all of your support. Also, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Please don't underestimate that. I know a lot of you like to watch in silence. You don't really like to engage like that, but that is a wonderful way to not have to leave a comment, but to at least say, hey, I'm watching the channel and I like the content. And it helps to push this through the algorithm and let other people find it, because YouTube will push it to them if you are engaging in the content. So please either leave a comment or drop a thumbs up or do both. And I will see you all in my next video. Bye. Toodles.